Welcome back. Today's video is going to be about splattering, even small splattering that adds to a little texture of the sketch. Sometimes it could be just a few drops to make it looks like it's part of the sketch. Other times it's to balance the sketch with a bit of texture to break the monotony. I sometimes think of it as dirtying the sketch to make it loose, like so. Oftentimes I use a grayed or toned color so that it's not so bright, and other times I use very bright splattering to create interest. It's lots of fun to play with, and we're gonna go through it today. This is going to be part of the continuation on the series on sketching loosely, the tips that I give, and I'll maybe summarize it for you, the previous tips. I'll put the playlist linked right up here, and I'll talk a little bit about the first tips that I gave, which was about disrespecting the edge. You don't sketch all the way up to the line, and that makes it feel a little bit loose, and that's tip number one. Tip number two was about designing edges, hard, soft, lost, and splattered edges. And actually this video today would be a continuation on the last bit, and it's gonna give you practical tips around how to splatter. The third tip was to create a looseness based on sketching by value, not by color. We can use this concept of value anchored color substitution, essentially substituting colors to something that you can design, in other words, different color scheme based on the same value that you see in reality or on a photograph. Splattering with a brush is an essential technique in watercolor sketching that can make your piece come to life. It's the perfect way to add texture, movement, and energy to your artwork, especially energy. Knowing how to use splattering correctly is very important for any artist that wants to add this dynamic element to your watercolor sketches. I learned this many years ago from Charles Reed, who is a well-known watercolor painter. He taught his student to kind of tap on the brush whenever you are not sure what to do. So that was a funny way of splattering. I'm going to use this sketch as a point to emphasize the point I'm trying to make. The whole idea of splattering is to loosen up your sketch. One of the key areas is really to break the monotony of the hard edge of your shape. Soft edges is clearly one of the way, like tip number 2 says, but splatter is an option to create that contrast, that ability to play, and to inject a bunch of energy into your sketch. Okay, let's give you some practical tips. I'll show you first the different brushes that I use. The first one is my Kolinsky Series 7, Winsor Newton Series 7 Pure Kolinsky. And the second one is a mix of sable and it's Kolinsky as well, but it's a mix, so it's a little bit stiffer, and the final is a plastic brush, water brushed. Okay, so let's load up our brush. You have to remember that you need a fully loaded brush for this to be effective. Your brush must be loaded with moisture, and if it's not enough moisture, your tapping on the brush itself may not work. You may not get any splattering. Let's mix a juicy red. This is a quinacridone roast, and we're going to use firstly the brush that is a little bit on the stiffer side. It's the Kolinsky mixed, and we're gonna get this loaded, and then we'll do a bit of tapping and see whether we are able to splatter like so. Notice how I tap the brush with my index finger, and the paint will drop off and it will fall onto the sketch. Next, we're gonna use the Kolinsky Series 7 from Winsor Newton. It's a fully soft Kolinsky hair, so it will be able to hold more moisture as well as easily depart with the pigment. You will see that it's a little bit more juicy that's falling on to the paper. And finally, we're gonna use the very stiff plastic water brush that a lot of us would use for our urban sketching. And if I tap on it, you will see that it is very little splattering, or smaller in fact, dots that will appear. And basically you just need to know the behavior of the different brush. Okay, next we're gonna try to mix some neutral. What makes red becoming more neutral? Well, a bit of green. So if you take a bit of green, mix it into dark green, that is, in this case is viridian, mix into the quinacridone rose, you get a bit of a nice juicy black. I dumped in a bit of quinacridone gold into it, and that will make it slightly brownish, blackish sort of color, neutral if you like. Now I'm going to sort of splatter on the paper, and you will see that they are lighter because I had added more water, and it's more of a neutral sort of splatter. And in the same way, you can do this as a base, and usually what I do is I use it as a base to sort of not take too much attention onto the splatter itself. The complete opposite of that would be to use the opaque colors such as cadmium yellow and cadmium orange, as well as cadmium scarlet. Those colors will be very opaque, very attention seeking, and I like to do the yellow, orange, red mixed, sort of the rainbow mix if you like, because the yellow on neutral, orange on neutral, and then red on neutral gives it a sparkle that you can't get otherwise. So the idea here is very simple: splattering neutral on opaque. Opaque gives you attention, neutral less so. So I hope this tutorial gives you something to ponder, splattering into your sketch in order to make it more delightful and full of energy. I hope that helps in some way. Till the next one, bye for now. Oh, don't forget to check out the other sketching loosely tip 1, 2, 3. I'll put the playlist right here. You can go check it out. And, bye.